Chapter 14 is all about your resume. This is probably the most important chapter of the book. Many people have many different opinions on how a resume should be created. And I'm not going to say that the way I like to see it is the best way. Everybody has it differently. And so many things are different depending upon what kind of job you're applying for. So let's get into it. The first thing that you'll have a line here that has the video lecture, which is this. Okay, then you've got the PDF of the book chapter for those of you who have not gotten your book yet. And then there's the lecture chat just like before. And then there's study guide questions. The second part of this chapter is where you're going to begin working on your cover letter and your resume. Because when we say resume, we think just your resume. Well, a lot of times a resume will also include a cover letter. And that's normally your resume packet, is your resume and a cover letter. If they want more than that, if an employer wants more than that, they'll normally tell you. So when you're talking about a portfolio, that is normally a nice cover page and your cover letter and your resume and your work samples and letters of recommendation and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot more entailed. So there's a big difference between your resume packet and a portfolio. What we're working on in this class is we're going to do a complete portfolio, but we're doing it in little steps, so it isn't going to be so hard. So after you do this chapter on the resume, you're going to start working on your cover letter and your resume, your actual resume, okay? So why is the resume so important? Well, I could teach you all I want to teach you about goal setting and all of these others, your attitude and how to dress. But if you can't get yourself into the job through your resume, all the rest of this stuff is not important. So let's go on here. The resume sells your skills. It sells your skills, and more than sells your skills too, it sells your attitude. People will see attitude from the very first thing on a resume, which is your career objective. So they'll see your attitude through your resume, and they'll see a lot about you, dates and everything else. And it also conveys, why are you the best applicant for the job? Why can you do the job better than anybody else that has applied for it? I'm going to open up in this resume right here, this resume module. There are some things that I want to refer to here. In this requirements, the actual requirements, this, you don't have to do any work on it. This is just for you to use, look at. Your career objective needs to be professional. It needs to tell why you want the job. It also should include your letterhead on the top, which is your name, address, phone number with zip code, and your email address. On the address, you should have full city, state, and zip, not just Fresno or Clovis or Madera. It should be Fresno, California 93710. So it should be complete. So if they want to mail you something, they can. The required sections, of course, your letterhead, your career objective, your skills, your experience or your work history, and your experience or work history. What kind of experience or work history? It is not only paid, but it is also volunteer work, because volunteer work's just as good as paid, because it is experience. So many of you are taking AT19 or Business 19 or one of those others, the work experience classes. Use that experience with that employer in your resume. Your education. Please make sure to include Fresno City College. And then, you know, the skills is also a summary of your qualifications. Okay, so how oh, I'm sorry, down here, 1 page, please, 1 page, very important. If you have more than 1 page, you will lose an employer. They'll lose your interest because they are going through so many of them, so many resumes, and many times the employer doesn't even look at the resumes right away. They scan them through a program. There are programs out there that scan these resumes for keywords. So they're looking for keywords that right down here, actions words, personal quality words, keywords that are in the job announcement. Like if you were going to be a welder and they were requiring MIG welding, and you don't have MIG welding anywhere on your resume, you're not going any farther. And there are programs that they can run this file through and look for those words, MIG welding, or they could be looking for supervisor. And if you don't have supervisor or lead or manager anywhere on your resume, it won't even be looked at. It'll be put aside. So make sure that you use those keywords. Make sure it looks professional. Make sure your font is the same for the entire document. It's not too busy. What I mean by that is that there is not so much writing on the page that they don't, it's just too much. Or different alignment. If things are out of alignment, it doesn't look professional and they're not going to go any farther with it. So those are some of the key things that you want to look at. Now, there's two basic different types of resumes, and you'll see here by these examples. There are functional resumes and there are chronological resumes. And I have another one here, which is a military resume. If any of you are military, this is a good one to look at. So the functional resume is normally when you do not have a lot of experience in the field that you are applying for. You could have a lot of working experience, but you're changing your career. So you don't have experience in the job that you are applying for, but you've got the education and you've got the skills. You've been working at it at an unpaid job or something. So what you want to do, instead of emphasizing your employment, you want to emphasize your career, your skills and education, and your career objective. And put your education down a little farther. So how do you do that? You do that by having your, I'm going to open this up, having your education farther down on the page. I've got two screens and it keeps opening up into the other screen. Okay, so this person has got a lot of experience. This is a chronological. Okay, this person has a lot of experience they're going for a construction job. Construction superintendent, actually. They have experience in construction. All of this is in construction. And you're going to say Ashwood Construction. Why did they list it 3 times? Well, as you see here, there are 3 different jobs that they had. So this shows from 2000 to 2007, they went through 3 stages until he was now a superintendent of a job. So this really shows a story that this person moved themselves up. So this is chronological because he has experience on the job he's applying for. Now, the career objective, this is a real good career objective with one exception, and I'll tell you that. To obtain a position as a construction superintendent that will allow me to become a valued member of a thriving company. The only thing that I would change here is I would change this last part. And what I would do is if he were applying to Smith Construction, I would put that will allow me to become a valued member of Smith Construction. And the reason that I would do that is that it shows Smith Construction that you took time to edit your resume and that you're making this personal to them. So it's really important in your objective to pinpoint it to that company, which brings up another question. How often should you change your resume? Well, if you're going to do that and change this every time you're applying to a company, you may have to change your resume every time you do an application. If you're going to Target and Walmart and Winco and all of those, I would probably leave it at a thriving company. But if you are going to something like specific businesses within your major, take a few minutes and change this resume. Okay? So chronological, you see the functional does not emphasize the experience. I'll show you one of those. Chronological does emphasize the experience. Then you've got the education. You've got Fresno City College here. And it shows that he has an associate's degree in construction. And he also has a certificate of completion in construction. And it shows his Fresno State. It's important that you put the dates, the college name, and the city of the college, because although most of you are going to have Fresno City College, we know it's in Fresno. But if you were at UC Mid-State, that could be Mid-State anywhere. So just make sure to include the city and state. And then this person did qualifications. So these are general. One thing he makes sure all of you include safety. Very important that it shows that you have the skills for safety. So let me close that and go with this one. And hopefully this is the one I'm thinking. Okay, look at the difference here. Guadalupe, always use your last name. So make sure you use your last name in your letterhead. Objective to pursue my passion with computers and working hard through this company. Now, wouldn't that be better if you specified the company name? So you can really see that. This person does not have working experience with computers. If you look here, here's a lighting tech, pyrotech, ticket taker, and spot operator, follow spot operator. That has nothing to do with computers. So what he is doing is he is emphasizing his skills up on top. Then the work experience comes after. Then his education. Speaking of education, don't include the dates of your high school. The reason for that is the high school graduation a lot of times will give hints to the employer about your age. And when you see some of these things, and we'll talk about it later, one of the things that is illegal for an employer to ask is your age or anything that would let them figure out your age. So if I said that I graduated from high school in 1972, what would that tell them? Well, if they add that up, they're going to say, ooh, boy, that person is ready for retirement, not for a computer job. But then again, if I said I graduated in 2019, what is that going to tell them? That person is awful young. Why? I don't know if I want someone that young. And there's something else that I just noticed. Look at the order that they have these. They have them oldest to newest. You should always put your newest, your most recent experience on top. So these should be reversed completely. This follow spot operator should be on the top. Theater lighting technician should be on the bottom. So 2009 should be up here. Okay, so a couple other things. Some of the things that you should include in there is your skills. In the skills area, what should you include? You should have job-specific skills that are related completely to the job you're applying for. Transferable skills that can go from one job to the other, sort of like you have leadership skills, you have customer service skills, you have knowledge and ability to work with computers. Many of you who have taken AT10 already, or you're in the process of taking AT10, you should have there that you have Microsoft Office experience and include saying Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. So include all of those. Those are basically transferable skills. So, and then you have soft skills, which are people skills. I'm a people person, committed, dependable, and flexible. Okay, so those are your people skills or your soft skills. You should include all of those. Once again, just like the schools, you should include the location and the dates of your employment and duties. Bullet your duties. Do not include long sentences or don't include any of this in paragraphs. You don't need to say, I did this. Well, they know you did it because it's your resume. So here, program lighting design into a lighting board. This person didn't say, I am capable of programming lighting design into lighting board. You don't need that. Bullet it so it's short and they see it. Use your power words, your power words. I deal with written communication, understanding of, accurate, strong attention to details, maintain confidentiality, positive attitude, proofread, processed, ordered, provided support, demonstrated the ability to. Those are power words, not just I can. If you use the words I can, and if I substitute there, demonstrated the ability to, doesn't that sound much more professional? In the same way, implemented, manage, organize, produced. Those are all power words. And look in your job announcement, there are going to be more power words. This one has a lot of bullets. That's okay. One of the things, make sure you proofread your document. There is nothing worse than when I was in human resources, when I did a lot of this kind of stuff, seeing misspellings in a resume is terrible. It just immediately tells me no. Make sure that your cover letter and your resume match the names of the companies, the experience, the reference to the resumes and your experience. Some questions you need to ask yourselves is your resume. When someone looks at your resume, have you described yourself using at least 5 power words? And if your references were called, what would they say about you? Think about that. What would they say about you? And is that reflected in your resume? So think about those kind of things before you start a resume. It's really, really important. When you are using your resume, when you're taking your resume somewhere, what type of paper should you use? What type of font should you use? What type of program should you use? The most commonly used program in businesses is going to be Microsoft Word. So try to use it to where they're going to be able to upload your program. If you're taking your resume out to a business, use resume paper. Use a 12-point font and not a fancy font. And do not staple. If you have your resume and your cover letter, don't staple them together. If you have more than one page, don't staple them together, because most times the employer is going to have to take them apart. So just leave them separate. The last thing, and then I'll let you go. Ex-offenders. Be honest. Don't make a big deal about your time incarcerated or anything like that. Save that for a time where you can explain it, if you have to, before you go to to work. And normally the only time you would have to explain your record would be if it directly affects your work. But if someone should ask you, make sure that you're honest about it. So honesty is much, much better. Okay, so I'm going to let you go on. Let me close this, close a couple here, and get back to the module. So you can move on with this, with the lecture chat and the study guide questions. Then move on down and start doing your cover letter, work on your cover letter, and then your resume. Your cover letter is going to be the final. It's worth 50 points. The resume, you see that that's only worth 25. That's because this is the first draft of your resume. And there also is portfolio resources here for you. If you look at that, there's a list of action words, and there's some personal qualities that you can look at. There's some interview questions that may give you a good idea, some hints for your resume. So just starting on that, and I will leave those up for the rest of the semester so that you will be able to use these. So I'll let you start working on your resume and working on chapter 14. Okay, see you on the next video.